Hello, everyone, and welcome to another webinar by Royal Cyber. My name is Shajil Ahmed, and I'm the marketing manager at Royal Cyber, and I'll be your host for today. Before we start, if anyone is able to view my screen or hear me properly, kindly notify me in the chat window located on the right side of the pane. Now, for I start, I want to talk more organizations are turning over certain IT functions to managed services providers, freeing internal IT staff to focus on strategic IT projects. The role of the IT department is rapidly evolving with increased expectations to reduce cost while increasing functionality and streamline the processes. Okay, so like every time we have a let me introduce you all to our speaker for today, Mr. Umar Ahmed. He is working as an AWS architect and DevOps consultant at Royal Cyber. He loves to explore new trends in technology, particularly cloud computing. He has expertise in cloud infrastructure management, including performance application monitoring and DevOps tools. So now, without any further ado, let me hand it over to Mr. Umar.
Thanks, Sajil. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we get started, I have a quick word about this webcast. We are live and interactive today. We welcome your questions and feedback and urge you to take part as much as possible. We'll do our best to answer your question during Q&A session of this webinar. So before just getting any delayed, let's just start with the presentation. So today we will be discussing about the buzzword in this industry these days, which is managed services, and how it can add a complete value to any IT infrastructure that an organization owns on premise. So I'm just going to hit the next slide. So here are some of the points of the agenda that we'll be discussing along the way for this particular webinar. And these are I'm going to read out these points for you guys, and so that we can have a complete understanding before moving on to each part. That how managed services eventually is going to add the value to the particular organization IT infrastructure. Okay, so first, of course, why managed services point. So in this particular, point, we are going to discuss that what is actually the managed services, and what is its scope. Why everyone's, these days wants to get on this bandwagon, and why it is so popular, and at the same time, why it is so beneficial for organization. Okay. So the next part, what we'll cover is the scope of the managed services, right? That which particular IT-based services and solution that managed services can deliver, other than what we have in particular, at our own, on-premise level. Okay. So the third is how managed services can contribute to less downtime. So this particular point is very important and very significant to all the organization, may it be small, may it be medium, may it be enterprise level. So everyone wants to have their business up and running, at all times, irrespective of whatever happens. So this particular point we are going to show you, and we are going to discuss on the generic points, how a managed services can overtake this set of thing of reducing the downtime, and at the same time making sure that our application architecture and of course infrastructure on which it's running, it's up and working at the greatest times possible. Okay. Next, of course, we'll discuss about a little bit about what managed services that Royal Cyber offers, and which particular expertise Royal Cyber has, and how Royal Cyber can differ and can benefit you as compared to other competitors in the market. This point actually will be giving us giving us an idea on how taking Royal Cyber services you can have an edge compared to other competitors that are offering same in the market. Okay, and the last but not the least, we'll be discussing on the technologies that we support. So it'll be a very widespread, discussion based on the technologies. So let's just move on the first part, that why managed services. Okay, so here's little of the, before I just move on to that particular first point, this is the little information about Royal Cyber, that what it's been doing, and how it is about the footprint as well. right? So we are the modernized e-business solution provider. We are specialized in IBM Premier, IBM products, and we are IBM Premier business partner, and we are authorized, IBM authorized, and Microsoft certified gold partner, right? Okay, we are headquartered in, of course, Chicago, and we have got this, footprint in North America, Asia, Europe, and etc. Across all the globe. Our strategic move of establishing an offshore center in Asia has helped us to actually, concentrate, and you can call it. Okay, so I'll just so to reduce costs and provide highly competitive rates to our valued clients without compromising our quality. So this was just a little introduction of the company, of course. So I'll just move on to the next slide, which is why managed services are becoming the only way forward, okay, for the IT organization. So as in the very first slide, where we discussed, why it is becoming a buzzword and how it is beneficial. So here's a few of the points that generally covers what is and why managed services are required these days, and how it will be the only way forward for the IT infrastructures in future. Okay, so MSPs, which is also referred to as managed services providers, these managed service providers organizations provide organizations with a comprehensive IT infrastructure management. And when I say comprehensive, is literally comprehensive. Means that of all your IT infrastructure in place, be it be on-premise, be it be in cloud, be it be in any virtual environment, from management perspective, from deployment perspective, from maintenance, monitoring, you name the thing, and managed services providers will take care of it for you. Okay. So the next point is dynamic expertise required for the most complex and varied setup. As we all know that tech industry, especially IT and software industry, based on internet, of course, and it is like medicine, right? This every next day there's a next technology, and the next advancement in technology is coming in and hitting the sphere of technological boundary. So we have to move on, and with this particular with such a rapid growth and rapid pace, the things are evolving. So the systems over the time have become complex, even more complexer for a guy who is working on, or an organization for that matter, who's working on a simple product or a simple technology, to just deviate from in terms of advancements perspective. So of course with managed services providers in place, this particular avenue can be addressed at a very efficient way, right? So all the complex setups, and because the seasoned professionals are there, with the managed services provider, who are not only dedicated to one technology, but have complete understanding and the complete insights of what is happening in the outer world of the technology other than the particular organization. So this of course gives an edge. Okay, so next point, in need for time-to-time consultancy on the best practice for deploying varied technologies. So this particular point is, of course, the extension of this previous point, that time to time, you just don't want to just invest on something and keep it with you for like a very long period of time, right? For example, years. You want to just keep changing, and you want to have all those latest trends in technology to be applied to your IT infrastructure, right? So to make sure that your business grows and in a way that you have all the understanding and you have all the efficiency in terms of technology of delivering your business, right? So your time-to-time consultancy and making strategies, it comes under the scope of the managed services providers. So having a managed services providers, to achieve this, it is very important, right? So the next point is architecture optimization is required more frequent ever than these days. So as we all know that, in terms of, versioning, in terms of whichever application architecture we are using, there's, of course, the rapid development, the rapid releases are in place these days, more than ever. So from research perspective, as well as the pace, this architecture, both application, infrastructure, stack, operating system, virtualization, you name the technology, it is evolving. So there's a very significant need to just cope with that pace, and with the managed services in place, you just don't want to spend all that time yourself in-house by conducting meetings on the technology rather than giving time to your business. So in this particular avenue, again, managed services comes in with the high colors, right? Okay. Mostly the in-house staff is trained on particular technologies, so dependency level and in adapting cutting-edge technologies. Okay. So as I just mentioned, in the previous points as well, if you guys, any organizations, be it small, be it medium, be it enterprise level, the technical staff, even if you hire a technical staff, that will be dedicated. Their experience will be dedicated to that particular technology that you have, underlying your business, that is supporting your business. And if any outer world problem or outer world solution that is required to fix any integration at architecture level, or you say any application level, infrastructure level, then you are just left out with you feel left out because you have few in-house professionals, and they just have an idea on the particular product and their particular behavior. They're just not aware on the integration part and the other technologies, so to just make most of the other technologies as well to just sort any problem or any troubleshooting stuff. So in this particular case, again, managed services is the go-to thing for this particular point as well. So again, this is very cool. Okay, so the last point on the slide is chaotic atmosphere arising situations of disaster and downtime. So this is the last point, but this is the most important point, which I believe is the major concerns for the CEOs and for the product heads, for the product development heads and the product managers who are there, who whose businesses are over the internet, or who have the occurrence of this, who have a very tragic view of occurring those instances, because it is directly impacting your business, right? So any disaster, any unwanted event which takes place, that it's hitting your sales, hitting your business, that is directly associated with a cost, and you are just you have to bear that cost. So in those situations, nobody wants to just go in that situation, and if any such a situation comes, so the relevant guys would know that what happens, how chaotic this all becomes. You don't find a go-to person who can just come and solve all your needs and all your chaos, and by understanding the particular event. So understanding is, of course, is one of the key in such scenarios, right? So with managed services in place, managed services can help you with a dedicated team. If any managed services provider organization, they can have a complete hands-on on your system, or whichever system you have deployed, from application perspective, from support perspective, from security perspective, from any plugins or any added services that you have integrated, customly. So with managed services in place, you can address this chaotic situations very well. Okay. Sorry. So this point is, of course, is going to tell the scope of what managed services cover, as we just discussed in the very first slide, that what is going to cover. We have already discussed that why managed services is the only way forward, because of the points we've discussed. Very significant point for any project-based or product-based company to whoever having their complete infrastructure in place on premise or in cloud. So why it's the only way forward for them. Okay, so in this particular slide, I'm going to just cover what is the particular scope of the managed services, right? So which are the areas, which are the avenues that managed services can adopt and can take responsibility on. So the first point here is maintaining a customer's IT system on a regular basis and charge a monthly fee for the service. So this is the fee here is referring to a flat fee, of course, based on your infrastructure spending and how complex and how big a footprint your infrastructure has. be it on-premise, be it cloud, or any other form of infrastructure you have, any other form of virtualization that is in place. So with managed services, what it does is it takes all your infrastructure activities, or that is related to management, that is related to maintenance, that is related to deployment, that is related to any other technologies, for instance, being in place. So this model is actually a company is providing a client services for managing the infrastructure that is owned by client, or that could be owned by any other third party, or that could be owned by the managed services provider itself, right? For example, there are a lot of infrastructure as a service provider who have got physical data centers. So we need to understand the line between these managed services and the infrastructure as a service providers, right? So with managed services in place, we can have a layer of this management of the services over the infrastructure, over the client's infrastructure, which client can own, or the managed services company can own, from any infrastructure as a service provider, like from any data center or something, right? Okay. And of course, depending on that management layer, there's a flat fee. Of course, there's not any surges in the fee. So, based on utilization, like in the other cases of the data center products, or wherever you have this virtualization technologies, wherever you buy these virtualization technologies. So for just managing your stuff, they are going to take a per month flat fee, which is, I think, very bearable, in terms of if we compare it to the amount of benefit we are getting out of it. Okay. Okay. The second point is, in general, the customer owns or leases the system, right? So of course, whenever the management layer comes in place, it takes the complete responsibility of your infrastructure and the application or architecture that has been set on top of that particular infrastructure. So of course, the accountability, there's a one point area where you can, for any situation in terms of management, monitoring, disaster, you can just go to this one point of contact, that is a managed services provider company, who will know, of course, your history, and who will have hands-on on your particular thing on your stack. So in this way, we can say that you own your infrastructure, or you have it on leased to any of the managed services provider. Okay, so the third point gives us a lot of areas where managed services can cover, depending on the infrastructure that clients has. So services range from basic monitoring and maintenance to more extensive packages like security. Security is, of course, this is the key, and security is getting so vital these days, that we have to have complete understanding of and complete advancement. We just need to make sure that the advancement that is happening in terms of technologies, we need to have advanced security procedures and protocols in place to make sure that our infrastructure, our application is safe, and eventually, of course, our business is safe. Right. So with this particular, since security is so wide these days, so regular patches to your application, to your technologies, compliance thing, and you don't need to an organization just do not need to just get it bogged down into these things and wasting time other than instead of making more focus on their businesses. So this widespread part is easily covered by a managed services provider, which can just do all those scenarios, which can cover all those scenarios to ensure that you are secure, and your applications, in terms of patching, in terms of any other vulnerabilities, are saved saved from the world, right? Second is, of course, data storage. Of course, with big data in place, these days, you have the data growing like anything, for any application, be it e-commerce, be it any other, portal, when it comes to the data storage and collection is the key, and the management, of course, is the key. So with different plans in place, a managed services provider, if your application architecture, if your business is very critical on data storage and data driven, so the managed services provider can, of course, help organization essentially to have it managed very effectively rather than having it doing it on their own. The third is, of course, disaster recovery. Disaster recovery, again, as we discussed in the earlier slides, disaster recovery comes with a chaotic situation. So, right, so with managed services provider in place, it is very common that they will help you create a disaster recovery plan. Prior to if anything such happens, right? So you will always be in a safe place, because you would know, because if any disaster, any unwanted incident would happen, you have a backup plan already, which is already tested, of course. So managed service provider can also help you replicate that disaster recovery scenario to you, and so that you can have a complete understanding of recovery point objective and recovery time objective. You'll have the complete idea that if anything goes wrong, so this is my time period of recovery, and this is the recovery point objective that I would have. So I'll just be very good on it. So it gives a complete whole lot of relief to the organization from this perspective. Okay, software and technology updates, as we already discussed, that the software patching, versioning, and all this stuff is also by default it's been taken care of a managed services provider. Document management and help desk response, of course, with a support team in place. We'll be discussing about the 24/7 support mechanism that is very cool thing to have for a managed services provider. There are a lot of managed services providers, including us, that are offering 24/7 support services. So this is again very essential, so that we have a go-to, we have a one go-to channel for any of the issues, depending upon the infrastructure, depending upon the security, depending upon the application, etc. So you'll have a complete channel. Someone is there for you for taking your questions, taking your call. So it is again a very relief feeling. So firewall monitoring, of course, this is the extension of the security feature. So firewall comes under the security feature. So if someone is taking care of your security, so firewall by default comes into that. Okay, intrusion detection and restoration of operations. So this is again it's been hooked with the security feature. So if any malicious thing is happening to your application, to your business, and if anyone is targeting your cloud, cloud, your on-premise, or any other virtualized infrastructure in place to make some malicious activity. So with these security protocols in place, managed services provider can or will notify you in advance, of whatever is happening, so that you'll have ample time to just react to it and make strategies accordingly, by discussing it again with the managed services provider who is managing your infrastructure. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next slide. Here, this particular difference. This is the basic brief points-based difference that that helps us understand that how managed services is better than staff augmentation. Means hiring in-house staff for multiple technologies, for multiple expertise, and then again ending up with something less, right? Because you cannot hire for every technology a dedicated person for that matter. Okay, so here I'm going to just read out point, and then we're just going to quickly go to the school difference table. Okay, so first is flexibility. Of course, with all the points we discussed in the earlier two slides, flexibility is the key that managed services offers and to the organizations. So access to dynamic skills expertise on a regular basis. So, for example, even if you go to consultancy, if you hire, if any organization, I'm just drawing a scenario for example, if any such thing happens based on technology that is complex, and the businesses are are going reaching out to consultants, so they're going to be one time, of course. And if anything like that happens again, then you never know, you'll have to pay all that heavy fees to the consultant each time he's coming in and devising you a plan for that. So in that particular case, you are just paying managed services provider compared to that a flat fee for everyone, but you are making sure that those consultant, those expertise are there every time you need them. So it will not be something which you need to plan very beforehand. So this is again this is a very great point of managed services in place. Unlocks business value so you can drive growth. So of course, for any organization, any e-commerce, any other organization that is digital, of course, that is over the internet, that is making money over the internet, the growth and the business prospering is above all. Everyone, you go to any CEO, you go to any marketing head, you go to any business head in place, the main point he would argue is that he would just concentrate on the graph, the growth graph. So with all and a clean and scalable infrastructure in place is directly related to your business growth. And for making that growth possible, this clean, scalable, and complex infrastructure working in place, to make it possible, you have to have the hand of the managed services in place. Okay, so this is the cool difference between outsourcing managed services and in-house management. Focus on core. This is the very cool points on how managed services is way better than in-house management and having hiring in-house staff. So focus on core business. So no matter whatsoever, you have to just focus on your core business. That's what a managed services provider wants you to do, because he's just taking care of all the fusses to themselves, in terms of infrastructure, and they are giving you their word of mouth for all these services. So you just need to focus on core business so you can get the more out of it. So this is this is the key thing. Okay. At the same time, if you spend, if you look at in-house management, you need to spend time on setting up and managing infrastructure. You need to hire guys. You need to have the complete understanding of technologies. You need to go into the compliance stuff, and so forth, right? Okay. So the second is reduce staff cost. Of course, if you are going to have different different skilled person, in terms of expertise to each technology that is dedicated to each technologies that your whole solution has, whole infrastructure has, then you're going to just ending up pay a lot of price for each one, for each of the resources that you would hire, and as compared to the managed services, you will just only paying a flat fee to based on your infrastructure, right, and based on your complexity, which will be way lesser than what you'll be paying to your in-house complete team of IT professionals that you would hire, and that is again they'll be only related to particular technologies, not the overall infrastructure. Okay. So promising outcomes, of course, when you just take this, take the thing systematically, you're always going to have promising outcomes, like in terms of downtime, in terms of effectiveness, in terms of uptime, and in terms of how the whole business and process flow, the application flow, and to make it worthwhile, you have to have a managed services team that is each member of that managed services team. You will be the client of them, and they will be each member of their team will be having a similar knowledge in terms of your infrastructure, in terms of the changes, updates, whichever will be happening. So the promised outcomes are must in this sort of scenario. And on the other part, if we go to in-house management for this particular point, then you'll have to do experimentation, or other glitches could deviate the correct approach. So you'll be trying a lot more. So if a team of professionals is there without any strategy and without a hands-on on a particular technology, they'll just end up doing a lot of experimenting, ending up wasting a lot of time, and deviating from the real target. Quality of service, of course. So this is again, with the SLAs in place, of course, managed services provider have, very efficient service level agreements, based on the support, based on the deployment, based on the consultancy, based on the, any other stuff that is related or directly or indirectly related to your infrastructure. So it, of course, increases the quality. Right, and on the other hand, of course, you have to spend a lot of time in meetings to devise the best practices that particular technology, offers. So I'll just quickly move on to the next slide. Okay, so this particular point, which is very important to every business model, that how managed services can contribute to less downtime. So first point is presence of a consistent, dedicated team. Okay, so throughout, if there's one team, which is handling multiple projects, which is handling multiple organizations, which is of course having a great expertise and great skills in terms of varied technologies, and they can have hands-on to your technologies, and they can track down and drill down the particular incident or particular glitch, if it related to your application, if it's related to your if it's related to your infrastructure or any other particular glitch that is related to overall setup, they can of course tell you beforehand. So the reaction time is very less with managed services provider in any such happenings. For example, if it's not if application is not behaving, is the infrastructure is not behaving in the way which is it's required to, then the response time to tracking that and the troubleshooting time with managed services provider comes down to 0. So because you have everything in place prior to that unwanted activity. Okay, so dedicated account owners with thorough knowledge of customers' system. So with managed services in place, and you are if above your infrastructure spending is above a particular line, then with managed services provider, there's a common practice that they will dedicate and associate a single point of contact, that is a single account owner, for your particular account or for your particular infrastructure, and that is your particular one point of contact, one channel of contact, and he will be delegating all the other stuff, because he would know your system better than anyone else. So he would be delegating to his other staff in the managed services provider organization. He would be for any other particular stuff that your application and that your system requires. He'll just go to that is your account manager's responsibility to get it done and to go to the perfect man for that particular skill or expertise. So that turns down the what do you call the danger for downtime very less. Internal ongoing monitoring of all the critical services. So this is particularly the very common practice again with all the managed services provider, whichever infrastructure they take responsibility to, they set up their own within the internal monitoring system, so to make sure that they managed services provider can ping you wherever they think and wherever they detect that there's a system level and there's an infrastructure application architecture level glitches and unwanted behavior taking place. Okay. So customer business focus SLAs for issue resolution. This is again we have shared, of course. So SLAs, these are the service level agreements that are made between the client and between the managed services provider, in terms of what would be the standards of responding and what would be the standards agreed. Of course, the mutually agreed standards of what will be the reaction strategies in terms of events, different events, whether it be deployment, whether it be management, whether it be monitoring, whether it be disaster recovery, downtimes, etc. and etc. There's a whole lot of, there's a detailed document. SLA is a detailed document that both parties agree. Okay, so scanning for any suspicious behavior prior in time. I guess we've already discussed this point, so I would not go into much detail in this particular point. Okay, effective delivery of services. So all these, whatever we have discussed, like management, monitoring, the monitoring, the patching, the deployment, disaster recovery. So managed services provider at the end of the day will make sure those each feature of the plan, whichever you have made, taken from the managed services provider, they just deliver you, and they'll of course keep a track of it. So this will make the delivery very effective, and this will make you track down the essence of managed services, that what you are getting. what services particularly you are getting for having this smooth, your business running is smooth, in terms of infrastructure, application, and other stuff which is directly or indirectly related to technology in any capacity, right? Okay. So now I'm just now going to hit about what Royal Cyber offers that differs, that stands it out from its competitors, which are in place, in terms of managed services perspective. So here are a few of the very differentiating points for Royal Cyber that anyone can appreciate. These are the points that I'm just going to read out, that this will be the go-to thing for Royal Cyber, and we will make sure that these are the points we'll ensure and we'll apply to all our managed services provider clients, whichever we are offering managed services, to make sure that they we stand out. Of course, we gain the trust, and eventually their business will stand out by the exponential growth. So that is something which is directly related. So if we'll do good, of course your business will do good. So these are the differentiating points I'm going to read out here now. So reduced operating costs while delivering innovative infrastructure to meet customers' demand. So of course, even if you have a very common business model in place, our strategy at Royal Cyber is to first have very thorough consulting sessions, and that of course would be very compared to other consultants available, would be very less, and would be equally competitive in terms of technology advancement, in terms of technology, the latest technology and cutting edge technology in place. So we of course concentrate on sitting down with the client, and make tailor-made solutions to all the clients that we take. And because each client and each business requirements on technology and infrastructure differs on a wide scale. So we just don't want to have a standard and each treat everyone with a similar yardstick. But what we do at Royal Cyber is that we just sit with every client, and we interact at at the organization level to just devise a plan that is best suited for their own business. So this is quite significant. Okay, swift infrastructure provisioning and deployment with nearly 100% availability, right? So swift infrastructure provisioning and deployment is directly refers to the particular infrastructure that is in place, and that the deployment means that if anyone have any scalability issues, anyone want to make the changes in the infrastructure, so those will make sure that after the POC, after the proof of concept, we'll just go directly and swiftly try to integrate that particular change into the infrastructure as soon as possible. So next is ability to leverage AWS cloud for almost all infrastructure requirements, right? So this is our strength. AWS is going to be our strength, and if any of you, everyone would know that how much Amazon Web Services is being going with the cloud, and it is the only giant cloud provider available, which is just it is just going with a tremendous pace. So we have our own AWS architects in place with us that manages our clients AWS infrastructures. So no matter if your infrastructure or if you would like your infrastructure to go to AWS onto the cloud, so we'll make sure we leverage every AWS offerings effectively, right? Okay, skilled client interaction sessions on scalability and security of the setups. I think this is quite discussed in previously, that we have standard internally to just meet with the clients on any feature or any particular avenue is like in terms of infrastructure is like to have our guidance on. Okay, stay up to date with all of the latest technology available. So again, if your business is working properly and you are not getting any glitches or anything, but still we'll keep notifying you that this is the cutting edge and this is the latest technology in place, and we'd like to if you'd like to implement it, these are the benefits you are getting out of it, and so that it can add more value to your business. So we'll keep notifying you as well. Again, no matter if your infrastructure and if you're doing great and if you're doing okay, again, we'll just keep, looking into the aspects where we can improve and where of course, eventually your business can improve, making it, exponential growth. Okay, round the clock access to a team of experts. Of course, this point is discussed, and this is the case with the Royal Cyber as well. We have a 24/7 dedicated managed services team, based on different technologies and account managers as well. So there's the same concept we are replicating here in RC standards. So you will have the access, even at the 4 a.m. in the morning. You can just, get on the channels on the mutually adjusted channels where you can have, and you can just create a support ticket, or you can have those contact details, so you can directly have one point, contact for all your needs or all your questions throughout, 24/7, 365. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next slide now. So this is quite of a web, that this would give you a great overview. This particular web would give you a great overview what RC would handle and can handle for you, and how it's going to take all your problems under one roof by with managed services. It's managed services. So you can see here there are different avenues, different areas that needs particular skill set. So RC will take all those under its own responsibility and will make sure that those perform at the optimum level, making sure that your business is doing great. So these are web application, performance optimization, security, infrastructure, system admin tasks, server configuration, and making sure that your website is live or your business is up and running. So these are all this web comes under one roof, and you'll just need to go to RC for all this or many other stuff which is not pointed out here. Any related stuff which is related to infrastructure, which is related to technology, anything, you just go to one point, that is RC. And if you remove RC, you'll have to do all it your own. So it will make a bigger mess, for businesses and for models that are not adopting managed services, by RC or any other. Okay. So here are the technologies. I'm just going to go to the technologies that we support, that Royal Cybers have hands-on, that Royal Cybers has expertise on, right? So this is on-premise infrastructure. You can have, if you have already spent on your on-premise infrastructure already, and you have it in place, and you want us to add up our management layer in terms of the stack, in terms of architecture, in terms of application running on top of those infrastructure. So you can always, on-site and off-site, we can have it, through virtualization, we can have it, configured as per your, requirements, right? Cloud infrastructures, again, we are great proponents of cloud infrastructures, because the world is, transforming to cloud, and businesses are transforming to cloud like anything. It's greater than ever. The trend is the cloud for 2 to 3 decades to come. It's going to be cloud. Right, so here are the all the top cloud providers that we support, that we deploy services, customer services on. That is AWS, DigitalOcean, Linode, and any cloud infrastructure as a service provider that our client prefers or have any preference. If it does not have any preference, then we are of course there to consult them and to recommend them our own, based on our own practices and experiences. We are going to just tell them and consult them for your particular costing mechanism and your costing budget, this particular cloud provider would be best suited for you. Applications, so there's no limit to the applications. We have trained staff on across all the applications, all the programming languages, you name it. We have got developers, we have got system administrators, we have got architects. So you just name the thing and we have it. So I'm just going to read out this, what is defined here, which is CMS, every type CMS content management systems, be it proprietary or be it open. So we will just take care of it, everything. Even if it's e-commerce, even mobile, and all web-based solutions. So you name the thing, and we'll just figure out the best possible way to manage it for you. Okay. Databases, of course, we have MySQL, MariaDB, Oracle, SQL, and DB2, and etc. Any other databases, you name it. Okay. Stacks means, whatever, architecture you have, which on that your application is dependent upon to just run effectively. So we deal in every, stack level, and we just make tailor-made and custom stacks as well for that matter, depending upon the client requirements, the application requirement, where we incorporate, for example, caching layers and other reverse proxy mechanisms, for example. So we are just going to take care of all these stacks, in general. And some of the very common stack include LAMP, Java, Apache Tomcat, and JBoss environments. So we are just very much skilled on that. Okay, so here are a few of our clients, our success stories that we are delivering managed services to, and in every in the comprehensive capacity, where in terms of technology and in terms of their infrastructure. So if I'm just gonna take some names: Kmart, T-Mobile, Scholastic, and etc. You can see here. So it is a very we have a very widespread profile of the clients as well. To just make you understand, the quality of services. So this is the global footprint. We are about our headquarters, delivery, content, sales office. So we have, in short, we have across the globe, footprint, for our services and for our existence. So it does not matter which place, the particular business requires us, and we'll be there. Okay. So these are the awards in partnership. Smarter Commerce Cell, we were the winner for 2003. We are the IBM Premier Business Partner. We are the SAP Partner, Microsoft Gold Certified Partner, of course, the Oracle Partner. So both, all these technologies are very common and very, state-of-the-art technologies in place in terms of technology industry. So this is our, this comes under our, sort of a testimonial and, our, in terms of awards. Okay, so if you guys have any questions and answers, you can always bring them on, or you can just write into the chat, or the other sessions that will be disclosed to you. From using those, you can just bring your questions into us, and we'll just happy to get back to you.
Thanks, Umar. Thanks a lot. So, guys, any questions? So, we are always open for any kind of question. So, if you have any questions, just ping us at info@royalshaber.com. So, I guess that's all from my side. Thanks, everyone.